Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Lombardi Time Brews Live, where I'm your host, John Delray. Today, recapping Packers training camp day 13. Yeah, coming at you again from my car. It's the quickest way I can get to you, after all. But Titletown is under construction today. They're putting up a stage on one end. It's hot as freaking car episode today. It's just better for everybody. So today I'm going to be recapping for you what just happened at day 13 of Packers practice. And the offense, by all accounts, is really starting to come together. We did see over the weekend, I know I didn't really cover it much, but like the preseason game, the offense is beginning to click, right? Obviously the ones with these big plays, but even beyond that, the lower strings beginning to do some better stuff. And we saw that today as well. And still more of the same from the defense too. So there was one really big depth chart development. We'll see if it actually sticks or not, but certainly going to be talking about that. So let's start at the very beginning. What happened in practice? Who was there versus who wasn't for day 13 of Packers practice? So to get you started, Jordan Morgan did return to practice today, although in a limited fashion. So no real 11-on-11s. LaFleur in his press conference this morning said that he was going to be back. And then, yeah, he spent the vast majority of the day inside the Don Hutson Center. So that he was with the rehab group. Morgan did not do a lot. Lloyd, nowhere to be seen. Not surprising coming off of his hamstring injury, but then still out today was Banks, Valentine, Cooper, and then Jarvian Howard added to the injury list with an ankle injury. As for the guys who returned, we'd be looking at Hopper, Morgan, Jennings, Alexander, Stanley, Jair, Davis, Kraft, and Tom all seem to make their way back in after missing the preseason game or the last few practices. But then we also, today, it was a very, very humid day, kind of like some of those earlier days of camp. So we did see a number of guys today really struggle with cramping, taking breaks here or there. Quay Walker in particular seemed to really be struggling with some cramps. He was seen on the sidelines like eating a banana and like being pumped with fluids. Trainers talking to him a bunch. Eric Stokes dropped out a couple times. They were really working on what looked like a calf for him. So just kind of guys dropping all over. TJ Slayton, don't blame him. Big body, warm weather. Nonetheless, he dropped out for a bit and trainers were just dumping water on him. So, dog days of summer, lots of cramps going on too, in addition to the typical injuries that we are seeing. So, Jim, to get you right away, Jim, Emmanuel Wilson, number 2? No, I don't think so. So here's the thing, okay? In my opinion, Emmanuel Wilson has been probably the second most consistent back here at camp, behind Josh Jacobs. And I know the preseason game, he looks like a really good runner. No doubt. That's never been his deal. It was the exact same thing last year in the preseason too. The thing with Emmanuel Wilson, and especially when you're comparing him to A.J. Dillon, is if you go back and listen to the coaches talk yesterday in their press conferences, even Adam Stenavich talked about how the depth running backs have to do one thing extremely well. Or they have to, do these certain things really well. When it comes to A.J. Dillon, this is why I still think Dillon has the lead. Dillon is probably still the best pass protector of all of the Packers running backs. That gets you a job. Stenavich said as much. You factor into the increased usage that I've seen from Dillon in special teams, including being the new protector role for kickoffs and stuff like that. That's absolutely going to come into play. In my mind, the preseason game really didn't change much anything for the running back depth chart. I think we're still realistically looking at Jacobs, Dillon, and Lloyd there as your top 3, with Emmanuel Wilson as your running back 4, practice squad type guy who eventually gets cut. The Lloyd injury, depending on how long he's going to be out with that hamstring, very well could complicate this, because we could see some kind of situation, depending how bad it is, of if Lloyd goes on PUP or something like that, then they can sneak Emmanuel Wilson in that way. So, but as far as I'm concerned, what we're seeing, what the coaches have actually said, yeah, I know Wilson looks like the better runner. I still think it comes down to roles, and that puts Dillon ahead for now, as far as I'm concerned. So, other developments of the day today, the starting lineup today was indeed Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs, Dobbs, Watson, Reed, all as you'd expect. Musgrave at tight end. Then the offensive line with Jordan Morgan not really doing a lot yet for the line. It was Walker, Jenkins, Myers, Sean Ryan getting the start at right guard today, and then Zach Tom. Defensively, I mentioned cramps and some stuff going on, and that kind of threw off the starting lineup for the defense. But we were looking at Gary, Preston, Clark, Slayton, McDuffie, Wilson, Raylan Goforth got some number one snaps with the defense, while Quay Walker was struggle busting with cramps. And then Jair, Stokes, Nixon, and Bullard getting another start, technically, at safety next to Xavier McKinney. Then just to get to the other just top of mind stuff, kicking today. Only Alex Hale kicked today, and for his job prospects, he probably doesn't want to remember kicking today. Today was not a day. Yeah, it was humid. It was warm. It wasn't like a few other days we've had at camp, though, where the winds were tornado-like, as LaFleur has said before. It wasn't anything like that. It was relatively calm from a breeze perspective, and Hale struggled, ultimately going 5 of 9 on the day, with misses coming from 55, 49, 52, and 51. His makes were 2 extra points, 41, 46, and 44. Ultimately, for Alex Hale, this puts him total since signing with the Packers at 10 of 15. So, yeah, in terms of percentages, that the other two guys are getting up near 60 kicks. Hale down there at 15. He's the newest guy. Yay. Well, today was awfully rough for Hale, missing those 4 kicks. And I will say, too, the 5 kicks total that he's missed over the course of time, the vast majority, I think every single one actually, have been over 45-yard attempts. The vast majority of them, at least 4 of the 5 misses, have been wide right or to the right crossbar. What is very noticeable, though, for Alex Hale is, with Carlson and Joseph, they hit from 50. It's got plenty of the distance. It's just a question of whether it's going to go straight or not, right? Hale, yeah, it's got the distance, but at about the 45-yard mark, it travels in the air. It just kind of dies, and then maybe it inches in. He's just a different type of kicker. So the Packers, I said when they signed Hale that this felt an awful lot like not a guy who's truly competing for the job, but a guy who's trying out to be the practice squad kicker for whichever one of Carlson and Joseph doesn't make it and doesn't wind up on the practice squad. The Packers may reopen that audition process real soon, given what we saw from Hale today. It wasn't great. Then we got, for players of the day, Jordan Love. He looked great today. Several big plays, including one 50-yard bomb to Christian Watson. Watson straight up mossed Eric Stokes on the goal line. That was a 50-yard play, a beautiful drop from Jordan Love there. Then we also had Jordan Love to read up a sideline, went somewhere between 30 and 40 yards. The deep ball today for Jordan Love was working incredibly well. When we got to red zone 2-minute, there were some little not as goodness in there, some inconsistencies, but on the whole today, this was a really, really strong day for quarterback 1. Another player of the day, Kalen King. I know I saw some reporting otherwise and stuff, but as far as I'm concerned, Kalen King, he had an interception today. I believe it was off of Pratt. Couldn't tell for sure, though, because it was on the far side of the field. But other than that, Kalen King also had a sack today. This is another really strong performance from Kalen King, who continues to push for cornerback 6. Then the try again another day. Yeah, I recapped it. It's Hale. He was the worst of the worst performer today. There were some other, some little drops, some stuff like that today, but most other guys who had something go wrong also had something go right. Hale was the only one that really didn't. So let's cover drops and everything like that. Drops. Musgrave had one. Stokes also dropped an INT. Would have been a hell of a catch. It really would have been. It was on a deep corner route to Romeo Doubs. Should have been a pick. Could have been a pick. Wasn't a pick. Would have been a great catch. Still should have been a pick. Then we did have interceptions. Zane Anderson picked off Sean Clifford once. Kalen King got his interception. Couldn't tell if it was on Prafford or Clifford. I thought it was Pratt, but it very well might have been Clifford. Then we had in the fumble department, Keyshawn Nixon wound up with one. Kind of seems like a thing. We've talked for years now about how Keyshawn Nixon, great punt returner, as a kick returner. As a punt returner, questionable hands. And it's been a theme throughout training camp of nearly one muffed punt a day from Keyshawn Nixon. No different today, a muffed punt from Keyshawn Nixon. I will say too, though, a little asterisk on that. Most of the guys returning punts today, whether it was Toure, Reed, Nixon, most of them. I don't know if the jugs machine was on one or what, but even Jaden Reed was pretty wildly misjudging where the ball was going to drop out of the sky today. Again, not a wind issue. It was just falling really strangely. Like, yeah, it's supposed to come down at an angle. Sometimes it just kind of fell like it was going up and then flat. And they did not know what to do with that. So I asked Chris that one. And then in terms of sacks, LVN got himself 2 sacks today. Pass breakups for sure, at least. Jair had 1, Slayton had 1, Christian Welch had 1 as well. Solar Miner, thank you. Well, thank you for being here, Solar Miner. So now, just to recap some other just news for you. First of all, if you do want my thoughts on the preseason game, I know it didn't come out with a video exclusively about it, but just as a little aside for you, I know a lot of people are eager for watch parties to come back. So they're going to. Obviously, this regular season, of course, darn near every game. But for the preseason game against Baltimore, the final preseason game before the season begins, Claudia and I will be going live for at least the first half. I think it's going to be the first half. As a little test run for our watch party. Say hi to everybody, get going again. So that is the first half of the Baltimore Packers preseason game. We'll be doing a watch party. But then in addition to that, another big announcement. Wisco Fanatics and I are going to be doing a joint show on August 27th. We're going to go live right about 2:45, 3 o'clock p.m. for Cut Down Day. Yeah, Wisco Fanatics and I were joining together. We're going to do a roundtable talking about biggest surprises as the news rolls in as to what those final cuts are for the Green Bay Packers. Join us on Tuesday, August 27th for that. Then if you want my thoughts on the preseason game, the big risers from the game, Jacob Monk. I've been massively critical of Jacob Monk. I haven't been quiet about it. I'm not shy about it. Dude has been deficient in a lot of areas. And then all of a sudden, he goes out and plays in a game, and I look like an idiot because he plays super well. I'm glad, ultimately. I'd love to be wrong about all these dudes. But yeah, Jacob Monk played very well in the first preseason game. And then also Grant Dubose, no surprise there. Then the downs, A.J. Dillon has been getting criticized a lot, and I get it. But yeah, the line didn't do him any favors as well. And then Bo Melton. Bo, buddy. Bo's the truth. The truth is he dropped the ball a lot the other day. So that's all right. Now time for the stream of plays to give you a flavor of what was going on here. This is just a random stream of plays, and then I'll cover red zone and 2 minute before getting on out of here. But the stream of plays just to give you a feel of what happened at practice. Love to Dillon, couple yards up the middle. Then Love tipped pass breakup by Welch. Love corner to Romeo, near pick by Stokes. That's what I was talking about. Love to Musgrave, a screen that worked. He weaved through traffic. Would have been about a 15-yard gain. It has been so incredibly rare for like 3 years now that we see a screen actually work, especially in camp. That one did to perfection. Then we had Love, a bubble screen to Wicks would have gotten a few yards. Love to Dillon, couple yards. Then Love would have been a sack by LVN. Instead, it's a lame duck throw from Love to about 30 yards deep to Bo. Nearly was picked off by Anthony Johnson Jr. Instead, it's a pass interference on Anthony Johnson Jr., and it was just carnage. There were bodies everywhere, and the Packers just moved on after that. Then, a little bit more here from about the 15-yard line. Love to Dillon for a sweep. That was a nice 7-yard pass. 2nd and 3. Love. Jacobs actually winds up running an end around. Gains absolutely nothing. 3rd and 3. Love in the pocket. Takes forever. Absolutely nowhere to go. Throws out of the back of the end zone. Then the twos come in. Clifford comes in. Clifford throws to Dubose over the middle. 10 to 12-yard gain. Then Clifford rolls out. Throws away. Also, if you're wondering if that's still a trend, it absolutely is still a trend. Clifford. Caden, my good buddy Caden, who, if you're not following him on TikTok, you should. I sit next to him every day at camp, and he said that Sean Clifford reminds him of a middle schooler playing Madden for the first time. If there's pressure at all, he just looks to run, and that's all he does. And, yep, yeah, that's a very, very good way to say it, because here he rolled out and threw away again. Then Clifford sims up the seam, really nice play, gain of 15. Merriweather counter run up the middle, gain 8, and then Clifford King sack. Then just to give you the red zone and twos, and this is where things got interesting. This is what I mentioned about the depth chart change. See, the way that it's generally worked is you've got, like Love obviously does the snaps at the ones. Right? And then the twos come in, and that's always Clifford. And then with whatever time is left, because everything is very pre-designed, right? If there's 3 minutes left, 8 minutes left, whatever, then Pratt comes in, and this random mishmash of some twos, some threes, because they don't exactly have a full-on 3-unit or 4-unit, puts together whatever time is left, right? Well, today, all of a sudden, when it got to red zone, when it got to 2 minute, Love did his set, and then all of a sudden, Michael Pratt came in, and he came in with a lot of the guys that normally play only with the twos on offense. So is that something that's going to stick around, or is it something that it was a one-day anomaly, a little experimentation, a little Clifford's got a cramp. We don't ultimately know. But to end practice today, Michael Pratt was quarterback 2. So before I get to the red zone in 2 minutes, let's just see what you got here. Jim saying they might keep 7 wide receivers. I've thought about it, Jim. I just don't know how they could. Like, they've got the people too, right? I mean, you factor on Watson, Dobbs, Reed, Wicks, all safe. Melton, pretty dang locked in, right? And then all of a sudden you got Dubose and Heath. But if you're going to keep 7 wideouts, chances are you are going to have to shortchange something else on the offense, right? So are you going to go down to 9 offensive linemen? They like to keep 10. Are you going to go down to only 3 tight ends? I talked about that last Friday, how like that's possible if they want to keep a 3rd quarterback or if they want to keep a 10th out. Maybe you got to go down to 3 tight ends, but that would be extremely anomalous of how Brian Gutekunst has managed the roster the last 3 years. Or do you got to go to 2 running backs? Well, we're talking about maybe keeping 4 running backs. Like it feels like in my mind, they still rock with 6 wide receivers and you got your 4 locks and you got Melton, damn near lock, right? That's 5. But then for wide receiver 6, if it becomes Dubose versus Heath, you've got Dubose, who has a little bit of draft pedigree. And if he continues to ball out in the preseason, like we saw, being Sean Clifford's guy in the preseason for these final 2 games, and puts up stats in the preseason, then it might be like teams are at least going to be intrigued by this guy who's drafted, right? Versus Malik Heath, who had a whopping, I think it was 14, 15, something like that, catches in his rookie season, does a lot of really good grunt work, but was a UDFA. You know what I mean? And this isn't a knock on Malik Heath. It's how the rest of the league may view him. So suddenly, if you're looking at one guy in that bottom collection of receivers to get rid of, you're probably looking at Malik Heath and saying, well, we can let you go, and we're pretty confident we're going to get you back in the practice squad. Dubose, semi-confident. Melton, you're probably not. And that may factor into how they handle it. I think 6 wide receivers is still the biggest key there. Peter, what's up, Peter? Bonjour, Jean. Is your number 2 t-shirt a reminder of the fact that we desperately need Mason Crosby back? It's actually a 2023 t-shirt, Peter. Yeah, it's a whole thing. You gotta look all the way down. This was from the Lambeau Field 5K last year. I earned this shirt by waddling my butt around for 5Ks. And I remember it was hell that day. I did not. It wasn't a good performance. Also, yeah, no, I don't run. But yeah. And I will say, too, I mean, Mason, he really did lose his leg at the end there. But, Joseph and Anders, they've been looking the part in camp. Anders, still, it is only one bad day that is separating Joseph to Anders to this point. The rough one today was definitely hail. All right, so 2-minute warning and red zone. Here you go. So here I've got this marked as red zone. 1st and 10, Love to Wicks slant, 15-yard, first down. Then first down, spike. 2nd and goal on the 2. Love to Dobbs, out. Dobbs was all alone. Touchdown. Basically what happened there is they ran the route from the 2. Dobbs went out, cut over to the side of the end zone on the right-hand side. Jair, who was initially in coverage, he took the over, like he went to the back part of the end zone. Then you also saw Eric Wilson fade kind of along the goal line. It looked like, from what I could see, it was supposed to be Javon Bullard that was supposed to be with Dobbs in that corner. But Bullard was nowhere to be found. And then after the play, I did see like Nixon, Jair, others were, I don't want to say consoling, but certainly like talking in like a, you'll get him next time, kid, kind of way to Javon Bullard. So all indications were that Bullard was supposed to be on Dobbs. Instead, absolutely no one, except for the spirit of Curly Lambeau, was on Dobbs. And it was a very, very easy touchdown in that red zone drill. Then another set here. Red zone for the 2s with Pratt in at quarterback. Pratt incomplete to Davis. Then 2nd and 10 from the 17-yard line. Pratt to Bo. First down along the sideline. 1st and goal from the 6. Pratt dropping back. Pass breakup for TJ Slayton at the line. But they did back him up 5 yards for that. Then 2nd and goal from the 11. Pratt to Bo on an out of bounds. The ball nearly smoked someone in the sidelines too, because it was pointed to the fans. That one nearly came into the fans. So then they ended the drill there. Time was up. Then for the actual 40-second drill, so I guess we'd call this 2-minute today, what they did was they put the offense at the 50, put 40 seconds on the clock. and they wanted the offense to at least get themselves into a winning position, right? So 40 seconds on the 50. First down, Love. Then he takes the snap, goes to Wicks inside, pass broken up. Second down, Love, complete throwaway, absolutely nowhere to go. Third down, Love, deep to Dillon on a wheel route. A.J. Dillon, of all freaking people, running 45 yards down the field on a wheel route. Christian Watson was also right there in a vertical. There was some legitimate question as the ball was coming down as to, is that Watson's ball? Is that Dillon's ball? I don't know. They're both close enough. Wound up being just over the fingertips of Dillon, incomplete. Had it been Watson to close on it, maybe it would have been good. Regardless, incomplete. So the first string offense there failed. Then out came the twos. Pratt, beautiful throw to Ben Sims up the seam. Got him all the way up to the 26, so it was a 24-yard gain. Then a spike, another down, Pratt with a throwaway, and then they called it. They brought out Hale for a 44-yard field goal attempt to win it, of which that one he actually hit. But ultimately today, the offense did push-ups because of the first string's failings in that last final drill. But ultimately, this was a day where the offense began to look more complete. The defense still had its highlight plays, no doubt. I talked about King, LVN, etc. They still had their highlights. But this is a day where the offense really began to put it together. And frankly, that's exactly the normal curvature that we see year in and year out at training camp. Because I detailed a couple weeks ago, camp always starts, the defense is always good, offense always sucks. Every year. And then all of a sudden it kind of takes its course. And by week 3, getting into week 4, camp beginning to ramp up, you see the offense begin to click and the defense suddenly have to backpedal a little bit. One note though, I will say, one thing that we've talked about before is the fact that Joe Barry, his blitz numbers and just a pure raw data set, Joe Barry did blitz at least at a league average rate, if not sometimes higher than average. They just weren't very aggressive blitzes, or he would send a 5th defensive lineman that did absolutely freaking nothing. But one of the things we're looking to move forward with Hafley is not necessarily more blitzing, but more exotic blitzing, more aggressive blitzing. The sack that Kalen King had today was a very aggressive blitz. He was in the backfield in a millisecond. Now, of course, you can look at the offensive line and be like, why did no one hit the little man? Okay, that's fair. But nonetheless, if it's a well-schemed, well-scripted blitz that's done with intention, that can get you that result in the game too. And it absolutely did for Kalen King today. So some really, yes, the offense began to put it together today more. The defense still absolutely had its plays. We still had those interceptions by Zane Anderson, plus the pick by King. So really good stuff all the way around today. I will say too, only a half pad day. This was a more position practice day, less overall teamwork kind of thing. Tomorrow it's supposed to be even a couple degrees warmer. Tomorrow I've been told that they're going to be in full pads. Tomorrow is expected to go the full 2.5 hours. Tomorrow is the day where a lot of bodies are going to fly. I have a feeling, and maybe we'll have one-on-ones again and the whole deal. Peter, what you got saying A.J. Dillon could turn into a wide receiver number 7? Oh, Lord. His hands have gotten so much better in the last couple of years. I will absolutely confess to that. But they need that man in pass pro. He is still the best at pass pro out of all the running backs, and that is probably what is going to keep his RB3 job in tow. So, all right, everybody. I do believe, unless anybody's got anything more, it is time for me to jump on out of here. That is recapping day 13. I'll be back tomorrow. Maybe a little bit more red than I am today, but I'll be back tomorrow with day 14, capping what is sure to be a very long practice tomorrow as the Packers get ready to take on Denver. So thanks so much for joining me here on the Lombardi Time Brews. Don't forget about the special announcements, the watch party coming up against Baltimore, the Cut Down Day live show. Very excited for that one with Risco Fanatics. Got some cool stuff coming up, but right now, yeah, you know it. It's all training camp all the time, and I'm trekking up here every day for you to tell you what's going on. So hope everybody has a great day, and as always, go Pack Go.